Hello, credit union friends. Welcome to this episode of Three Questions. I'm Greg Michlig, President and CEO at CUInsight.com, and it's great to be joined by Lawrence Buckley, Senior Vice President of Business Development at DataOceans. Lawrence, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here on a nice Friday.
Absolutely. It's a great Friday, of course, and I know as part of that, our audience is here and they're eager to hear from you. We've got those three questions lined up, so let's jump right in. You highlighted in a recent article that you published on CUInsight that member communications are no longer just operational. So, can you tell me what's changed and why should credit union leaders be rethinking this now?
Yeah, absolutely. Historically, member communications have been treated as a back office function, right? It's something that had to be done, needed to be accurate and compliant, but it wasn't a strategic part of the business, right? It's a cost center. And what's changed is, I think, the member expectation, right? And we see this as consumers in our day-to-day. We expect access to information quickly. We want to be able to act immediately, and we want to move between channels without friction. So when the communications experience doesn't support that, it creates unnecessary effort for the members and additional workload for your teams at the credit union. And many credit unions are actually starting to recognize that these transactional communications, like statements and other letters that go out the door, are one of the only consistent touch points you may have with a member. And if you do them properly, you can really support an efficiency gain there for your team, for the member, improve the member experience. And we've seen clients increasing revenue and upsell and reducing costs, as they go through this process. So it's an opportunity that's untapped.
Absolutely. I've seen it from different angles, being on the association side for many years. And then, of course, here at CU Insight, really about communications and being able to deliver in different ways and different channels is really important. And you've talked about, the digital side of things. And obviously, digital adoption can be a challenge for some member bases. So what have you seen when credit unions try to increase e-delivery and self-service usage?
It is a challenge, and it's not insurmountable, but there's no silver bullet. We've seen the need for, a coordinated strategy, right? And the most effective approach is really to make digital the easier and more convenient option, right? And rather than trying to force the change in behavior, encourage them to go down the easy path. I think clarity also plays a big role. If a communication is clear, it's easy to read, and you make the next step obvious, the member is more likely to engage through the digital channel, especially if you can extend that experience through reminders, notifications, and making information readily available so that they can overcome those objections of going to digital. Many people wanted a statement so that they knew when to pay their bill, right? If they had a line of credit, they might have a different statement so that you got a lot of different things that go out the door. That makes it a little more complicated if they don't know when they're going to have to actually make those payments. I think choice is also important. So not every member is going to move at the same pace, and keeping flexibility is important and helps build trust, as well as education, right? You need to consistently execute that strategy, give them those alerts and reminders so that they're feeling confident and they're educated in how the process will work. And that really makes it a more natural transition to sustainable digital engagement over time, rather than just shutting off a channel of communication.
Sure. You mentioned trust, and I always think trust is so important. And by being that subject matter expert and being able to deliver in a way that makes them feel like you're educating and gaining that trust, and then delivering through that strategic side, right? I know you mentioned earlier, marketing is often considered a cost center, but that strategic side and being able to cut through is so important. Now, in the example that you shared in your recent article, the credit union achieved very strong results. And what do you think made that possible?
They had, amazing results as far as I've seen from our customer base, and they were very proactive, and they really trusted in a process. So I think we started by aligning a lot of different elements, and rather than making a single change, we looked at this holistically. First thing we did was really look at what they were sending to the members, and we tried to make sure that that was a much improved experience from the look and feel, aligned to the branding, but also made it more usable, and address some of the problems that their members had with what was going out the door. We also looked at how do you make that digital delivery preference more accessible within the online portal experience. So Making it easier for members to opt into the specific areas and a more granular level of process preference management was a huge part of reducing the friction and making it more convenient for the member. We also, interconnected those communications to their broader self-service environment. So again, I think when we look at what goes out the door to the member, we want to make sure that we're sending something out for a purpose. If that's to get them to apply for a credit card, if that's to get them to go make a payment on a line of credit, if it's to get them to go check their balance or to be aware of fraudulent transactions, the harder you make it for them to take action, the harder it is for them to actually trust your communication. So we wanted to make sure that as we looked at what the member could do online, we made it easy for them to go do that transaction and not have to hunt for it. I think importantly, we reinforce that experience through ongoing engagement, right? Doing alerts and reminders, and simplifying the workflows to guide the member through those actions over time. Being consistent helps move those interactions from one-time events to more continuous digital engagement, which is kind of the core message that we preach to our clients, right? We want them to understand that it's a journey and you're trying to engage over time with the member to get them to be a more holistic part of your community. And when everything comes together, you really do see that reduced operational cost. That could be lower print volumes, but it also could be lower costs in your call center because members are able to go do things on their own. It might even be increased profits. But ultimately, having a digitally engaged membership will allow you to drive a better experience and more profitable relationships.
Digital engagement, that sounds like what everyone is looking for right now. And the information that you provided, the pointers that you've given, seem very valuable. And as proof from your article, they work. So that's good stuff, Lawrence. I appreciate you taking the time to join me on the Three Questions video interview today. It's been a pleasure to connect with you.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it, Greg. Thank you.
And thank you to all who tuned in for this Three Questions video interview. We'll see you next time.